Good afternoon and welcome back to Fite Sports Uncovered. Yeah, I'm your host, Mark Joubert, and it's great to be back. More reasons than just the show being back. We're sitting here at the EFC Performance Institute in Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. Man, it's good to actually know what's coming up this weekend. It's absolutely, it's exhilarating. It's exciting to be back. Live, professional fights about to kick off in South Africa. MMA fights to kick off here in South Africa again. Yeah, it's. I think come Saturday it's going to be 420 days since last the EFC, Africa's biggest sports organization, if we could call it that, last put on a live event. 420 days. That's a long time for all of us fight fans to literally sit there going, when. Yeah, we've been watching stuff overseas, but nothing here in South Africa, but that's about to come to an end. And the man joining me to talk a little bit more about the return. And these guys have clearly not been wasting those 420 days. They've been working hard. I mean, we look at the fact that they've expanded their broadcast network. We look at the fact that they've just announced a massive investment opportunity for you as the fan. You can get involved, absolutely. And then more importantly, I want to ask a little bit more about what's happening with the roster, because a lot has changed on that roster and it seems like a lot is coming on that roster. So the man who is going to be under the spotlight, EFC President Cairo Howarth. Cairo, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Mark.
Good
to be back.
It's lucky to be here in your home away from home.
Yeah, it's cool.
If only the fans out there could actually see the development taking place in the background. For those that don't know, the event is no fans. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. It's going to be held at the Performance Institute here in Johannesburg. It's only going to be the fighters, it's only going to be the officials and maybe a couple of media just to cover the event, but that's it. But come on, Cairo, the excitement, I can actually see it all over your face, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I literally walked into this venue for the first time in over 400 days, today. So, yeah, it's been crazy to think in the 12 years we've been doing EFC and putting on shows. If you'd asked me 420 days ago if this was going to be the case, we'd never ever would we have expected not to have done a show. And we've basically been hosting a show a month for 10 years. So it is awesome to be back. It's cool to be back with the team. I haven't even seen the office team, our crew. We've been all chatting on Zoom and on phone calls obviously a lot, but it's the first time we're actually all getting together. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement just from our personal side and then obviously from the product and the business, what we want to produce and what we want to put out there. It's a big weekend ahead.
So I could say well-deserved break, but obviously it hasn't been that much of a break because taking leave for over 400 days would have been a little bit too much to ask.
A forced sabbatical, put it that way, if you want to call it that, yeah.
But you guys have been busy.
We have been busy. Obviously, we'd prefer to be busier. We've been busy in a different way. We haven't been able to host live shows, which was very frustrating, obviously, and very difficult on many aspects, but I guess if you have to look for the positive. It was a situation we couldn't change. We had no control over. There's nothing we can do about it. So we rather spent our energy instead of sulking. We've spent our time doing what we could control and focusing on what we can build in that time. So it was very much building in the background, and it was a release to be off the hamster wheel. When you're doing an event a month, there's a deadline every month that doesn't move. There's one thing doing a live event, but we're broadcast property, we're a media business. So there's a live TV element to it as well, which adds all that extra pressure. So when you're running from deadline to deadline, a lot of stuff that you want to build and do in the background does fall to the side. It gets pushed to the bottom of the list, which is understandable. So this period has been good to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and focus on what we need to do to take EFC to the next level and really grow it over the next decade.
Talking about that next level, you've spent a lot of time fine-tuning a couple more broadcast deals. Now, probably officially, could we probably say the biggest sports media property on the African continent? Yeah. What is it, 130 million homes, over 200 million people?
I don't know of a bigger one. So, anytime I look at any stats from anyone else, EFC is by far bigger. Yet to find anything relatively close. You get like African Cup of Nations, I guess, would be the closest thing to what EFC is. But it's just a quick season and it's once every 4 years. It's like we're on TV every week, every day in Africa. Okay. So no one gets that kind of traction that we have. We've got the same, if not better, broadcast partnerships in Africa that CAF's got, but they just, for a small period over every 4 years, whereas we've got that literally daily and weekly across the continent. So yeah, like you say, we've got the biggest property from an audience point of view, and we've got, and it's our job now to really build that and to capitalize on that and build the sport and build the brand.
And obviously with those new broadcast deals that you've put in place, it's almost opportune for the next piece of good news, and that is the fact that you've launched this new investment opportunity, not only for the athletes, but for the fans of the sport here in Africa and the fans of EFC. It's no secret, sport is big money. We look at what UFC is valued at, over $7 billion.
That's why we're here, Mark.
Yeah, $7 billion US dollars. We look at one championship.
The listing's now at $10 billion.
Is it now?
So Endeavour's valuation is a $10 billion business today, and that's the bulk of that is UFC. The rest of their business, unfortunately with COVID, is really taking a hit, and UFC is pretty much their crown jewel in their investment portfolio. So sitting at a $10 billion valuation.
So, massive numbers coming through in sport. We look at, the Dallas Cowboys are still rated as the top sports team globally for the amount of money that they make.
And even in Africa, you look at Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. Those are two South African football teams. It's not even a national team. And then you look at the PSL. It's a South African football league. It's awesome and it's amazing, and they've got a beautiful product. But do people in Nigeria or Kenya or Uganda or Sierra Leone watch the South African football league? They'll watch their local league and they'll watch the European leagues. Do they watch the South African football league? Probably not. We don't watch the Ugandan football league or the Kenyan football league. But MMA and EFC, people in Uganda and Kenya and Ghana are watching EFC, so we believe we've got the perfect product for this continent. We've got the perfect product for this day and age, where people are consuming short content. You don't have to watch a whole 80-minute football game or whatever it is. You can watch a quick 3-minute fight. It's awesome, it's catchy, it's locally relevant, it's Africans competing against Africans, international. So all those things combined, and the younger demographic that Africa's got, we believe we're in the best position to really come out of this COVID situation, deliver an amazing product, deliver live product, live sport where most people still aren't. MMA content, looks great as a live product.
Absolutely.
Even without audience, it's awesome. So we've got a lot going for us at the moment.
Which, once again, the investment opportunity. Athletes fans now have the opportunity to own up to 20% stake in the EFC as this, like you've spoken about, the sports property grows across Africa, across the world. Now, we've heard a lot about it. I did a podcast with you not so long ago. We heard a little bit about it at the press conference ahead of EFC 85. Off the back of the fact that, if we look at the Spanish leagues, many of the Spanish football properties, they have what they call supporter-owned contributions, supporter-owned shares within the organization.
Like Real Madrid.
Correct.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, Barcelona, etc., etc. Now, for many of those, they own shares, but they really don't have as much say, or any say for that matter, in those organizations. You're doing it differently. Athletes will be fighting for shares in the business. Athletes will be fighting for greater share. Fans can pay for shares in the business. And for every single one of those shares, these individuals will have a say in certain aspects of how the organization is run. Is that correct?
Exactly, 100%. So and extra benefits. So it's very fresh. We've just launched it. A lot more information is going to be coming out. But what we have planned is stuff like when COVID does allow supporters to be in the venue, as an example, we're going to say, okay, if our capacity we're allowed, let's say we're allowed by June 100 supporters. Cool. The first 100 investors, the first 100 owners, they get a free ticket to come watch a show, as an example, And then we're going to do stuff, okay, if someone's out of town, they can't watch it, we're going to have a new direct-to-consumer streaming platform that we're launching soon. Oh, cool. Owners, you get exclusive content, you get exclusive access. Okay, owners, you want to see who's the next title fight, who's the next challenger for X champion. Let's give them 3 options, and the owners get to vote on it. So we want to make the owners are investing in the business. Yes, they're doing it for the financial upside, but they're also doing it, a lot of them, because they're supporters of the sport and they want to see the sport grow and they want to be involved and they want to be engaged. So we're going to be fleshing out a lot of that opportunity which we're really excited about that.
So looking at the opportunity and gauging from the comments coming out of the press conference, the new negotiation with the athletes is no longer about a fight purse. It is going to be about the equity contribution that will make up the biggest part of every single fighter's fight purse on that given fight event. Is that correct?
Exactly. So here's an example. It's a perfect example. Let's say someone was normally pre-COVID days would have earned 50,000 Rand for a fight, as an example. Now we'll say, you're going to compete at this upcoming event. We'll pay you 10,000 Rand in cash and 50 or 60,000 Rand in shares, in equity, as an example. So the athlete goes, awesome. They're getting a small cash contribution in comparison to what they would have got before. They're getting a bigger portion of their purse in equity, but we're giving them a bit more as well. And then, and they effectively become owners of the business. They're getting 50, 60,000 Rands worth of shareholding in the company, which is fantastic.
The reality of that obviously means now that fighters are going to have to rely a lot more on their sponsors and less on their monthly fight purses coming out of their promotion.
Exactly. In the short term, correct. So from a cash flow point of view, that would be the reality. But we take one step back, go to 3 months ago, there is no sponsorship. With no event taking place, there's nothing. So you're an athlete, you want to earn money. The only way you're going to get sponsorship is to be active. The only way to be active is if EFC is taking place. How do we all do this? I'm in the same boat. We make money by hosting events and by creating content. I'm not earning any money 3 months ago doing nothing. So let's all get on the same side here. What do we want to get done? We want to produce a beautiful product. We want to put something on television. We want to attract the brands. We want to expand our TV reach. We want to capitalize on what we've done over the last decade. Let's do this together. We're all in it for the long run. We all make money as this builds and makes more money. So today we're all pulling up our socks and digging in and getting it done. But tomorrow, these guys made some extra cash. The share price goes up. They make an extra 20, 30, 40% on their money. Awesome, so.
Okay, so that's how the athletes get involved. How do the fans get involved? Where can they go right and say, if I'm a fan listening to this right now, where do I buy my shares now? So
Supporter goes onto Stack Assets. So there's an app on the App Store called Stack Assets. It's a South African financial service approved company. We've chosen Stack out of all the hundreds of different companies that do this, and we literally spoke to companies from San Francisco, in the Bay Area, we're dealing with them, to numerous. We looked at the JSE, we had discussions with, from a listing point of view, looked at various different opportunities and platforms, and Stack, we believe, is the perfect platform for this, the perfect marketplace. It's a safe, secure investment for anyone putting their money in. So you can download the Stack Assets app, open an account, transfer money in, and purchase shares. Simple as that.
Simple as that. You heard it. Athletes get it by fighting. The harder they fight, probably the higher up the ranking, and that's something we'll discuss and find out a little bit more about in later shows. Probably higher up the ranking they go, they probably get access to greater stake in the business. But you as a fan can get hold of a single share, multiple shares, just by going to the Stack Assets app, downloading it, getting an account, and parting with a little bit of money, but down the line there seems to be a lot of upside in it for you.
And this looking, our business has been privately owned up until now. This has never been an opportunity. If you're a supporter in mixed martial arts and you're interested in the sport, one, you couldn't buy into the UFC. The UFC has been a privately owned business. So you can't buy into one FC. That's, unless you're putting in $100 million. So all of these are privately owned companies. So we're really opening it up to people who go, I like MMA. I believe in the sport, how it's growing. Africa specifically is pumping. The spotlight's on Africa from an MMA point of view. What a cool opportunity. Hey, EFC needs some funding to do what it wants to do, to expand how it wants to expand. I can get a good deal coming in now post-COVID, get in and make some cash and support the sport, support the athletes.
Well, there you have it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to unpack a little bit more of what's going on the roster, and then do a quick breakdown ahead of EFC 85. Don't go away.
Prayer is a privilege. It's a right given to us to approach the Father in faith and through His Word by the Holy Ghost. That opportunity that's given to us to pray is something the Father always wants us to seize. He always wants us to take advantage of the opportunity and the privilege of prayer. The Holy Spirit brings to us fellowship. It means a communion, a drinking together, a union with you. We come into a place of relationship, a oneness, an inseparable oneness. And you ought to enjoy that fellowship every day, every day. Our spiritual life depends so much on our communication with the Lord. When we take time off everything else and give Him our attention. He says, my son, give me your heart and let your eyes observe my ways. So we've got to pray because the spiritual controls the physical. Hallelujah. We pray on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays, 12 noon as usual and 10 p.m. Very important. 15-minute session, not too long, but very, very important.
Follow and pray with Pastor Chris on King's Chat and cause changes around the world today.
I worship you.
Welcome back to Fite Sports Uncovered, and we're sitting here in the EFC Performance Institute in Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa, and in conversation with EFC President Cairo Howarth. And it's been 400 days plus, in fact, almost 420 days come Saturday, and they've been busy. From expanding their audience and their African footprint, their network, to launching of a unique investment opportunity here on the African continent for both athletes as well as fans. But without doubt, the most exciting bit for me is the fact that come Saturday, the Fite, they're back. And we're going to get to see some professional athletes throw down. And Cairo, that's got to be the most exciting bit, because all of that other stuff means absolutely nothing without the actual live events, without the athletes.
Exactly. So, and that's, we spoke about it earlier, that was what was so frustrating over this last year, is that yes, we can do other work and yes, we got a lot of stuff done, but we're not doing the meat, the core. We're missing the core, which it is really cool. It's been amazing to get back on it and to get the show put together, and the support and from the athletes and fans, and literally messages every day of everyone so excited to be back. So yeah, it feels good.
We're looking back 400 plus days ago, the EFC was a very different organization, very different space. I mean, if we look at who the champions were then, fast forward almost 420 days later, a handful of those champions no longer exist as athletes on the EFC roster. They've moved across to other organizations around the world. So that's an exciting opportunity now with this new investment opportunity. It's exciting space now, particularly for the first event back, EFC 85, for the next crop of athletes to come in and take their place as potential champions, African champions on the EFC and on the EFC organization. That's going to be an exciting opportunity, but surely that also opens up difficulties in terms of continuously filling up the roster with good quality athletes to challenge for those straps.
I think it's awesome. I think one of the hardest things about COVID has been for the athletes themselves not being able to compete at EFC, sponsorship, revenue, all that stuff. So when they get an opportunity to fight overseas and our champions are getting signed by the UFC, amazing. That's amazing. So we're so happy, so pleased that those athletes got those opportunities and continue to earn money, continue their careers, while we couldn't provide the platform that we have been providing to them for the last decade. And it does create a great chance for the new guys, So in the end, athletes come and go, and athletes will build up, and whether they're retiring or whether they're moving on to other organizations or whatever it is, there's not a day that goes by that we don't get contacted by athletes wanting to compete for EFC. We have our problem is actually space to fit them all on. We don't want to sign too many because the ones that we have signed want to give enough fights. We want to give them the opportunity first, but we've got a waiting list. We have athletes from around the world saying they'll pay for their own flights, they'll fight for free just to fight on our cards, just to be on our show so they can get that opportunity. So we're very lucky. We've got a good product. Our product is broadcast everywhere. We look after athletes well with the medicals. We put them in nice hotels. Our show is fantastic, and they get to build their name with us. We promote them well, and because of that, we have a constant demand of athletes wanting to compete for us. So we're fortunate in that situation, and we see this now as a great opportunity for the next rising stars to go, I want that spot. I want to be earning the big money, and I want to be headlining the cards and having the countdown shows filmed about me and all the media attention. The hard part was the uncertainty, because earlier times in COVID, we thought we were going to be able to host a live event. We said to our athletes, get ready, start preparing. Some of them did start preparing, and then we weren't able to from a government point of view. So, and then the athletes like, and that's why they're here. Yes, we're coming back again. But until you actually put a peg in the sand, start announcing fights, and start promoting an event at the high level, a lot of the athletes weren't committing yet. A lot of them were. The guys like Fite were training every day, dying for a fight, says can fight on a week's notice, but not everyone's in that situation. So yes, certainly the card that's come together, we believe is awesome. It's a great card to showcase our first one back. It's really exciting. There's some cool matchups on there. Some old schools, some new schools, some like a whole bunch, which
some very, very old school as well.
Yeah, which is really nice. You got, and the likes of Boyd coming back from boxing. Like there's a whole bunch of really nice mix in there, which we really like. And all these athletes that are on the card put their hand up and said, "Get me in there. I want to be on that first card back." A lot of them could have said, "Put me on June," but they were like, "No, I want now. I want to be on as early as possible," which is awesome. And then, like you said, we've got a pile coming through for June, a pile coming through for July. Graham actually first put the May fight card together and sent it through to us, and we're like, "Graham, let's wait. Spread these fights out. There's too many there's too many. There's too many big fights. We don't need to shoot them all in one go. Like stagger them." So yes, it was difficult in some ways with the uncertainty from a COVID point of view. And yes, it's been slightly different because of the share offering instead of the normal discussion, so to speak, where previously we go, "Hey, here's your fight purse, here's your contract, sign, and off we go." Now there's been an extra element to do. And then the training with COVID, everyone's had their own difficulties in this time, and sponsorship and getting that reignited again. But all that considered has actually come together really nicely, and I think that just shows the want and the need and the passion to get EFC up again and to get competing again.
Well, obviously it has, because we look at two debutants, JT Botha. I understand that there's been a development with his fight, but that has been resolved. And we've got Kaylee Niedermeyer, who's making her debut against Christine Vormerans. Two fantastic young ladies off the local scene who have now gone from amateurs into pro. So that's going to be a fantastic bout to witness. But looking at the 11 fights, looking at those 6 prelim fights, for me, I think the most interesting fight out of the lot is probably Cameron Simon up against Billy Westhuizen.
Yeah.
It's got a...
When I saw that, I'm like, isn't that on the main card? Because it's a cool fight.
Absolutely cool fight.
Fight.
Cameron, less than 10 minutes he has spent behind locked cage door. Billy, he's, I think 2 years ago, he was subject to one of the best knockouts of the year. So that's going to be a very, very interesting throwdown. So cannot wait for that. But fast forward quickly to the main event, the main card. A couple of what I call mismatches on paper. Martin van Staden versus Pietie Coxon. I mean, on paper, you would have to look at that as a betting man and say Martin just has too much against Pietie. But we do understand Pietie has got one punch knockout power, and Martin's got to make one silly mistake and it's sleep time.
And that's exactly it. A fight is a fight. You can have, that's the beauty about combat sports. You actually don't know. You can put it on paper, and yes, you can bet on it, and yes, you can get whatever stats you want, but you actually don't know, because it can change in one punch or anything. So that's why we put the fights on, so you actually can see who's going to win, because you don't know until that point. And a guy like Pietie, he's a gamer. He wants that fight. He knows his ability better than you do or I do or anyone else does. And when he puts his hand up, he said, "Put me in for that fight." I mean, he wants to go in there and win. He's not going in there to lose. So yeah, he's backing himself, and you've got to give him that chance.
Interesting matchup, Boyd Allen versus Bruno Mkulu. Bruno hasn't fought since 2018. Boyd also roughly the same period of time, but he's been honing his stand-up skill in boxing. Comes back into this on a 4-1-1 professional boxing career. So once again, on paper, a serious mismatch in terms of the stand-up, especially looking at most of Bruno's 6 of his last 8 fights he's lost by submission of some sort, or by result of some sort. So that for me is a strange one, but exciting to see the old guard back.
Excited to see them back. And Bruno, He's extremely athletic, extremely strong. His fights that he's fought the top people in the roster. It's not like he's had an easy run at EFC at all. You know, that guy's been fighting the best, and he's a lot bigger than Boyd, and size does matter. You know, so again, you never know. We haven't seen Boyd, we haven't seen Bruno, we haven't seen them in action. I'm very excited to see both of them. I think Bruno is a showman as well. Boyd doesn't talk a lot before, but he puts on the most exciting fights that you're ever going to watch. So I don't care who Boyd is fighting, I'm always excited to watch it. And Bruno's again put up his hand, and he wants to make a name, and he wants to take a big name, and that's by taking Boyd.
Who can ever forget Boyd Allen versus Leon Maynard?
Yeah,
wow,
exactly. Amazing. And that's what. And coming to that fight, Boyd says nothing, but then he puts on that show. You don't need to film that Boyd before a fight. You just need to say Boyd's fighting, and people know what to expect.
2 fight of the night, potential fight of the night contenders, in my opinion. Maningela versus Chitamba. Definitely one I think anybody who is in love with MMA, South African MMA, needs to not miss at all. And then obviously there is that title fight, the main event. Sylvester Chipfumbu up against the current interim strap holder, which is Faiz Jacobs. That for the, it's just unbelievable that this fight has actually come together, and this is for the undisputed strap. So your thoughts on those 2 fights? Because those for me, literally, that's the main card for me, right there in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think it's got all 4 of those athletes are super skilled, well-rounded, you know, whole package. It's not like you're looking at it going, oh, this guy's missing a ground game or average stand-up or whatever. They're well-matched, good intensity. You saw at the press conference yesterday, Faiz and Sylvester, they're both going, I'm a champion. They both got the same headspace. They both got the same drive. They both want the same thing. Unfortunately for one of them, only one's going to go through as a winner. That's the way it goes. But yeah, it's really cool for us again. I'm looking at it. We've got a South African and a Zimbabwean. Both of their stories are very inspirational. And it's just, again, the beauty of the sport and the beauty of what we're doing with EFC and MMA in Africa is we're telling these stories, we're giving these opportunities to people who don't have this opportunity otherwise. All of those athletes, all 4 of those athletes are world class and can compete anywhere in the world. And I hope to see them competing, in UFC one day and wherever. And we're just happy to be part of that journey and putting it on and giving them this opportunity and them being part of it with us and taking the step with us.
Final question to you. EFC 85 takes place Saturday night. What time, where can fans tune in?
So we've got COVID, lockdown curfews still going on. So we've pulled the show 2 hours earlier than we used to do it. So first bout on the undercard is at 2:30 on Saturday. The fights go live on television around the world at 6 p.m, the main card. And that's on SuperSport Action, plus a whole bunch of action across Africa, plus all of our African broadcast partners and our global broadcast partners. So you'll see some stuff coming out on our website. Just go on our website for more viewing details. But we literally signed today a deal with Czechoslovakia television. We've got a whole bunch of new TV deals that we'll be announcing as well, which is fantastic. So fans around the world have more opportunity to watch EFC live now than they've ever had before.
Well, Cairo Howarth, thanks so much for your time. It's been brilliant to be here in the PI. It's been awesome. For all of you out there, you know what I'm going to be doing on Saturday. I'm going to be watching fights. Hope you are. You know where it's going to take place. Until the next time, protect yourselves at all times. We're out.